Hi, everybody. Matt here from Matt Likes Comics. And I have a very big treat for you guys tonight. My guest is Jason from Renegade Rants Comics. Now, I got to meet Jason for the first time when I showed up on Son of Crom's Legion of Substitute Heroes broadcast because I had watched him before, but I'd never spoken with him. And we were able to talk after the show, and I managed to convince him to come here today. Jason, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm all looking forward to the show like I always do on Tuesdays. A little rushing around, but then once we're on, everything's good. So before we get going too far, I've got two things I need to do. I'm going to make myself big for a second. All right. I want to thank the following people. These are members of my channel: AG, Big Nasty Comics, Chonko Comics and Nerd Culture, Comic Collector Geek, Son of Crom, Cliff on Comics, Ryan Riley, Robbie Josephs, Rad Art and Comics, Ben Compton, Figure Drawing, and my newest member, Comic Mike. Thank you all for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. Okay. Now let's take a moment to say hi to the chat because I see that Stevie D's made it. So let's see. We've got Comic Mike. As I said, thank you for joining the station, the channel. Robbie Josephs. I'm doing well. How are you, Robbie? We've got Rich from Big Nasty Comics. Hi, Rich.
Rich.
We've got Thomas O'Donnell. Good to see you. We've got the awesome and very prolific Kay Munin. Good to see you today. We got this guy named Renegade Rants.
Who's that?
I have no idea. All the way from British Columbia, we've got Big Lyle Hobson. Welcome to the show. And there's Richard Westfall. Welcome to the show, Richard. I'm glad to see you. The amazing trumpeter, Stevie D, is here.
Stevie.
And Nate has made it in. Hi, Nate.
Hello, Nate.
And that's everybody that's in the chat at the moment. So I'm going to begin by asking you, Rich, what got you into comic books? How did you end up becoming a collector?
Well, I ended up, I grew up in my grandparents' house mostly. So my uncle had been a collector of DC, and there was just piles, like in old, like shoe boxes and stuff like that. Nothing bagged or boarded. Just there would be Legion of Superheroes or Superman or World's Finest, or, all of these books laying around. So I would literally sneak a few of them out, and as soon as I could learn how to read, I was like reading these things, and rereading them, and then trying to put them back so I wouldn't get in trouble, kind of thing, reading them. And then I did that for a long time until I realized I could buy comic books. So when I actually realized there was a tobacco shop up in the town I grew up in, they had a spinner rack. I could go buy a couple comics here and there if I saved my money up. But the problem was they didn't get issues, the following issues, as much as like an LCS does now. Like I'd get up there every month and they would have the same issue, or now they have 2 issues ahead because they didn't order the last issue. So that kind of threw the collecting off a little bit. And then I kind of stopped for a while. And a friend of mine is always been a big collector, my buddy Sean. Hey, Sean.
Right.
And so he started talking me into going to Free Comic Book Day. And that kind of spurred the urge because I could go to Free Comic Book Day, especially when we go down in Syracuse, New York. A lot of the shops had, all back issues are $1. 20% off all books, 20% off, current, everything else. So I would just pick up stacks on Free Comic Book Day, and that's how I would collect.
That's pretty awesome.
And then I kind of was only doing that sporadically, and then I started watching a bunch of YouTube channels. Like I saw your channel, Mon Comics, Mike from Lunch Money, those kind of channels, and it kind of spurred me and going, I actually have quite a bit of comics here. I don't know if anybody would be interested in watching, but I kind of like to kind of show some of my stuff off, and then I kind of went down the rabbit hole of I started, getting more stuff that wasn't ordinarily my wheelhouse, but
Right.
I'm kind of bringing everything back in line. So
That's very cool. Speaking of your wheelhouse, what would you say are your favorite books these days? Like what are you going to buy first if you have everything in front of you?
well, I'm definitely getting Halverine because I really like that storyline. I think Percy's doing a really good job on that, or did a really good job like creating the whole space. And then Cable, Love, and Chrome. I know there's only a couple issues left on that, but that's been a really, really good read. And then that is kind of a mismatch. I haven't got it yet, but I want to check out Predator versus Spider-Man, but I haven't.
That I hear is going to be really good.
So that's probably going to be on my top line. And then, like Richard just said in the comments, anything Ghost Rider that comes out, I will probably be buying. So
I'm guessing Richard knows you a little bit.
He knows.
That's awesome. As I said, I watched a couple of your videos today to try and feel you out, and I noticed that you did a video on the Punisher. Now, for those that haven't seen it, can you talk a little bit about the video?
Well, basically, it was me ranting, and it was prior to the episodes for Daredevil, which by the way, I still haven't watched. I haven't had time to sit down and watch all of them because I was behind.
Yeah, I've only watched about half.
So my rant was basically this. They killed the character. I mean, they didn't necessarily kill him, but they wrote him off in such a way that just was, it made my blood boil. It's like, you had this character that had 3 or 4 titles going from the late 80s to the 90s and was carrying them successfully. And then you're deciding that you don't like the logo, you don't like, what the logo is representing, kind of thing. And instead of, he's talked about it in the comics before. They just basically had Jason Aaron come in and do a slaughter of, like, rewrote his history. The way they rewrote his history, not for a spoiler alert if anybody hasn't read it, but basically the way they did it just made him not what we know as Frank Castle. So, and that just, it sprawled into this big rant of, if you want the symbol, take the symbol back, or don't sell the symbol, but don't sit there and tell everybody that the symbol's horrible and yet you're still making money on the symbol, and then just recreate it. And that's what was driving me nuts. So
no, I agree with you on the either stand behind it or remove it completely. Yeah. I completely agree with that, because it's one thing to say, like, okay, well, we're selling this product, but we really don't believe in it, so why are you selling it? We still want your money. We have a question here from Robbie Josephs. What year did you start collecting?
Officially, I would say probably about 86 or 87 is probably the first comic book. Now, I don't have that anymore because there's been a couple collections I left at certain ladies' houses that, I may or may not have been moving out of quickly. But I'd say about 86 or 87 is when I remember first, buying my own book and then trying to, keep it all nice and putting it in my own little box kind of thing. So
86, 87, I was probably spending a good, back then, probably a good $25, $30 a month on comic books. And for back then, that was a lot. Because even back then, I think 86, 87, they were 95 cents a piece here, probably 75 in your.
75 seems about right as far as that time frame goes. Because I remember if I could find 3/4, I was happy, and usually it was the couch cushions.
That's cool. All right. So what we're going to do, hi Cohen, thanks for making it tonight. What we're going to do now is I'm going to make you big and let you show some books. And as I said, if I have questions or comments, I'll sort of chirp up.
All right. So I brought kind of a little hodgepodge because I figure that on my channel I show off a lot of stuff that I collect. Here's some obscure things that I've gotten. So I actually got the Masters of the Universe 1 through 3, and I got that on
good choice.
Colossus Collectors, and I believe Uncanny Derek's live stream that they did or whatnot sale.
The Castle Grayskull cover is one of my favorite Masters of the Universe covers ever.
Mm-hmm. I saw these and I'm like, you know what? I had the figures growing up. I watched the show. I'm like, I need to have those. And that was a really good price. And then we've got, speaking of Daredevil and Punisher, I think I'd bring out that iconic cover.
Is that the first time they met?
I believe it is. Let's see, 183.
I know that there was in 1988-ish, there was a double story where one was in Daredevil and one was in the Punisher when the Punisher finally got his own series. But I know that wasn't the first time they met.
No, I'm pretty sure this is the first time they met because it was these two were like the big books.
Nice.
In that series. And then just for you, because I thought you'd get a kick out of this, this is actually the oldest book I have in the collection.
Yeah, you gotta love, as I said, you gotta love any books with crypto. But what I get, this falls in the with, like I always say that Superman was a bit of a dick during the Silver Age, and this kind of falls into that power because like tying crypto up with kryptonite, first of all, he can't touch it himself, so he had to put up with pain to do it.
Yeah.
So he must really wanted to do it for this new dog for whatever reason.
Yep.
That's a great cover though. And Nate agrees on that.
And then the last thing I brought, just because I forgot I even had it, but I was digging for some books for the Legion of Substitute Heroes show tomorrow, as I forgot I actually have a James Bond Black Box #1.
Nice.
And I didn't realize that Benjamin Percy actually wrote this. But I had it right.
Cool. I didn't know that either.
And I'm like, okay, because this was a 6-issue run, and I've only got the first one, so
I feel ya.
I think I'm really going to maybe on Free Comic Book Day see if I can find these. I did find it on eBay. It's not overly pricey to just get the remaining 5. But.
Now, if I remember correctly, there was a showcase in the 60s that James was the first appearance of James Bond in comic books. It was a Dr. No book.
Mm-hmm.
Have there been a lot of series since? I haven't seen many, if any.
I think there's 12 series total, but mostly it was all newer stuff. Like I know Topps did a GoldenEye in '95 when GoldenEye came out with Pierce Brosnan.
Okay. That was a great movie.
Collectors, it was a collector's Topps book. Right. I don't necessarily know if it was comic size. It might have been like one of those oversized like magazine things. But I was looking it up because I wanted to see about getting the rest of these because I actually reread that and I hadn't read it in a while. And I'm like, why didn't I ever get the rest of these? And I'm like, oh, it was in a dollar bin and I couldn't find the rest of them. So
nice. That's too bad. Dollar bins are the best places to look for these obscure books because people don't know about them. And next thing you know, you're buying Shirtless Bear Fighter out of a dollar bin.
Or Canoe Head.
Or Canoe Head. I had to pay $4 for that.
Hey, it's worth every penny.
Yeah, actually, Canoe Head is pretty funny. Okay. The guys that created Canoe Head are from a sketch team that were very, very popular in Canada in the 1980s. And so the character had been invented for TV and it was just absolutely hilarious. And all the clips are all the clips from Mr. Canoe Head are on YouTube if people want to give it a watch. It's hilarious.
Oh, nice.
Cool, Wayne. I did not know that. That's good, Robbie. Okay, what else have you brought us?
No, that's it right now.
Oh, wow.
That's basically all. I didn't bring a whole bunch because I didn't know. Oh, Cliff didn't like the canoe head comment.
Yeah, well, I have, we talk about Canoe Head a lot over on Alan's channel. Well, if you want to take a minute to grab some books, I can show a couple.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Let's see what I can. Let's see what I can find at the moment. Well, here's a couple from the what I call the FOMO Club. We've all seen Nightcat. I still haven't gotten around to reading it yet, as you can tell by the sticker on it. I haven't got to that yet. This is number one of Super Forever or Super. Love you too, Cliff. This series, I bought the whole series, and I blame. I think it was Eric from SideQuest that showed this, or it could have been. Oh boy, or was Dope Comics. One of them showed this on Nate's show, and I ended up saying, like, I just had to go and get them all because, FOMO. Here's number two. Nice flaming skull on the cover. We've got number three with the guy bouncing on a couch wearing diving glasses for some reason. And number four, another cool looking cover. I don't know if the skin is missing off the face or if that's a shadow, but it looks really cool. And the last one from the series is this one, number 5. And I got them all from my comic shop because they had them all. All right, Jason, I'll make you big again.
All right. So, a few more that I've got. So, I picked this up not too long ago, Uncanny X-Men 276. And I don't really collect X-Men, like, trying to fill the run in, but anytime I find an awesome cover, and I really like the cover on that.
That is a good one.
And
is that before or after Jim Lee?
This is Jim Lee.
Okay, well, that makes it even easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Then I have, this is in really rough shape, but I couldn't pass it up. It's Spider-Man 161. And it doesn't look too bad unless you're really up close, but there's a lot of like little rips and tears and stuff. But I figured that 30-cent Spider-Man I couldn't pass up for $1.
It's still cool, like from this distance anyway. Yeah. It still looks really good.
It's actually a pretty good presenting copy. It's like I said, it's like when you really get in there and start eyeballing it. So
yeah, I actually had a book that I had the same thing happen today where it looked very good presenting when I was reading it, and then as I got closer with my glasses on, I was like, oh, there's this little tear here, a little blah blah, spine tick there. But without my glasses, it looked great.
I know, right?
Yep.
And then this one I actually picked up, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 137 from IDW. And the only reason I got this, and I used to watch the Turtles, like I have nothing against the Turtles, but I'm not trying to collect any Turtles, is because Eastman is going to be at Terrificon, and I wanted him to have him sign something, and he actually did this because it's Eastman 22 on the art right there. So I want to have something that he could sign. And then I'm a Jason Momoa fan, not necessarily didn't mind as Aquaman, but I am super excited to see what he does as Lobo.
Yeah, I think he was born to play Lobo in that sense.
I think if there's any character that he deserves to play, it's Lobo.
Because he looks like a Lobo. I mean, Lobo has looked the same pretty much since he came out in 1984, and Jason Momoa has looked the same since he came out on Game of Thrones. At least that was the first thing I saw him on. And
if you want to see weird, go to watch Baywatch Nights or whatever it was he did in the 90s with short hair, and he's all surfer dude, and he's about 1/10 of his size.
Wow.
It's
I did not
it's
know that.
horrible, but like if you do the side by side, he even talks about it. He goes, "Yeah, I don't even know what was going on, except I made enough money to go buy a Harley." Is what he said about that show.
Wow.
So,
So, what do you got there? Another Superboy. Put it up. Show it up. Show it up.
so Superboy, starring the Legion of Superheroes, because this is one of the first ones that, like I said, in my uncle's collection,
Yeah.
this is one of the first ones that I actually read.
And
Because I
that
remember,
was sent. I got a copy of that sent to me from Big Nasty.
mm,
So, and I was missing it. That's the one book that he sent me a few Superboys. I needed that one. So,
oh, nice.
Robbie's got another question for you. Do you have a favorite era of comics?
I'm gonna say Bronze Age for myself. Like when the original Ghost Rider came out in the 70s, I think that was the best era, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I'm a 90s kid. I will always love the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, but for me, going back and reading all of the original Johnny Blaze, that just that's my favorite
Yeah.
version of everything, kind of
I
thing.
like Johnny Blaze a lot too. I bought Ghost Rider 2 not too long ago because of the first full real appearance of my man Son of Satan, and so
Hmm.
I was
Yeah,
very happy to get that. And the fact that he was in Ghost Rider kind of thing is like, yeah, this deserves Ghost Rider's a demon from hell. So really,
yeah.
this
And then you've got so many, like the thing with Ghost Rider is, like when Ghost Rider came out, there was already the Ghost Rider that was the
Hi,
Western
Johnny.
hero, and then you had where they tried changing the name twice
Yeah,
when Johnny Blaze came out. So they had the Knight Rider and then the Phantom Rider, and then one of them they couldn't do because of, you guys can look that up, but it was a derogatory term for
yeah,
things.
yes,
So they got rid of that. Then they switched to the other one, and then they kind of did the Western character dirty later on in the continuity, which I'm not getting into
yeah.
that either.
Which is too bad because I loved when Sam Elliott did him in the Ghost Rider movie. That to me
Hmm.
was the highlight of that movie was Sam Elliott.
I'm gonna say the only thing that made me mad is I wish Sam Elliott had been more involved. Like, I mean, I
Yeah,
loved him as caretaker in that, and that's what the kind of the role was. But I'm like, oh come on, you're literally gonna have him just change once and throw a shotgun? Come on, have him in a
yeah.
fight. You know?
Well, apparently there was a lot more that hit the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is too bad because that would have been much better to keep that sort of thing, and they could have taken out some of the more tender moments, like, "Oh, Johnny,"
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Oh yeah, they do. Although I do laugh when she stands her up for the date and she's sitting there going, "You think I'm pretty, right?" And the waiter goes, "Hmm."
That was pretty
But that
funny.
was actually pretty good.
Yeah. All right, that's cool. I love the Ghost Rider movie. Any other movies from the that have been out that you liked? We were talking about Superman before.
Well, I haven't really watched too much that's came out lately. I actually am looking forward to Thunderbolts. I mean, I'm not holding hope out, but I like Sebastian Stan. I like the cast they got in there, and I think it's
Mhm.
actually going to be fun versus everything else that's going
Well,
on.
the fact that he's in the movie makes me want to see it, just because of at least the character right off the bat. I don't know nothing. I don't know anything about the Thunderbolts. My Marvel knowledge is puny compared to my DC knowledge, and so I don't even know who half these characters are, let alone the team. So
Mhm.
I'm going to go into it with an open mind. So
Yeah,
I'll
well, and
try
I
on
mean,
it.
there's so much negativity on everything that's coming out. The one movie I actually really want to see is The Accountant 2.
Right.
Like, like I want to see John Bernthal and Ben Affleck just in that, because I know Bernthal's got more of a part in this one, and just
Yeah.
from the previews, and I know previews can be misleading, but I think that just looks like it's going to be fun too. And I just want to go to a movie that's fun,
I would
that
agree with that.
that's really preaching at me, if that
I
makes
am
sense.
really hoping. I'm actually a big Fantastic Four fan. I do have a lot of their books,
Mhm.
and I am hoping that movie is at least above average because
Oh,
I mean, like we all know it's going to be an origin movie. So right off the bat, you kind of have to take half the movie away because they have to spend that building up. Oh, here they go into space. Oh, look, they have powers. Now they've built this building. Oh, look, they're going to get married. All that stuff. So you're going to have half the movie be there, and then the second half of the movie needs to be really good.
I think that from what everybody has seen, and I'm not a big Fantastic Four guy. I just never really got into it, But like I respect the characters, and I watched the first one when it came out, and I didn't hate the first one when it came out, but apparently I was, well, how could you like that? And I'm like, well, because
I
didn't
was
hate the
very,
book.
I won't say disappointed, but I was not impressed by it.
Mhm.
I still have to watch the second one. I haven't watched the second one
Oh,
yet.
I never watched the second one, so
Yeah.
that's on me, or any of the remaining ones that came out after that. So.
And I hate thinking that, oh my God, that Johnny Storm is Captain America now, because I really like him as Captain America, and I don't want to think of him as anything else.
Yeah.
Especially when he was with Thor and Iron Man, those three together had such chemistry. It's sad that only Thor is still around.
Well, I don't know what they're doing with a lot of this stuff, but it was. I will never forget. I actually was in the theater with Daredevil and Wolverine, and I was. Let's see, he said "flame on." I literally, my face, like I just started like laughing hysterically, like out into the ether, and I'm like, "Oh my God!"
Well, I gotta admit, I really enjoyed Old Man Logan. That was a lot of fun. The fact that the first line in the movie is Patrick Stewart yelling nasty words, it was just like that came out of Patrick Stewart's mouth, because he's so well laced, as Jean-Luc Picard and as Professor X before, that hearing him sounding like he had Tourette's or whatever was really off. Not off-putting is not the right word. It's surprising is the word I would use.
Yep.
Yeah, but actually, the whole plot of that movie wasn't too bad. The X-23 was really good. But I've got to see. I haven't seen.
That was just one of those movies that I understand nobody wanted to. Like nobody wanted to mess with Logan. Like they wanted to leave that movie as it's it is, and then even though Deadpool and Wolverine kind of went after it a little bit, with the whole digging him up thing,
Right.
I still think that was respectful enough that it was kind of okay. But then again, I might be stirring up drama in the chat. So
yeah. So where do you see your collecting going?
Well, I've got to kind of rein back on buying a lot of hodgepodge stuff. And so I talked about my uncle who got me into comics.
Yes.
Well, I was actually buying a few of the books, like the Legion of Superheroes, anything I could remember that he had. I was actually trying to pick up copies of that because I was going to make like a little short box of the stuff I remember reading and give it to him saying, hey, do you remember these? And then after I did the video where I said I was going to do that, he ended up calling me up and he wants me to price his comic books. And I go, your comic books? Like, I thought he stopped collecting about the time I was born, so 47, 48 years ago.
Right.
And apparently he actually came to my grandparents' house and all the books that I had read, he ended up taking with him. So he has most of the original supply, or, the original comics that I had. And he was collecting up until, he said it was sporadic. He's only got maybe 100 or 200 books. I mean, it's not like he's got thousands of, I'm going to run across Hulk 181s and everything else,
Yeah.
But he
Although
kind
that
of
would be cool.
So I'm like, well, all right. So my plan is I'm going to help him price those and then probably make an offer on those since those are the books that got me into the hobby. So I'm going to kind of stop buying like this weekend, Free Comic Book Day. I've got my budget for that.
Yes.
And then I'm not buying anything else probably till Terrificon except for my pull list.
Yeah.
because
I'm feeling the same way. I've got two cons myself this year. I'm doing the Montreal and Ottawa. So
mhm.
that's normally I just do one a year, but this year I'm doing two, and so it's going to be that little extra money needed for. Usually I do a lot of small local shows and spread the money out over the year, but this year it's
Well, there is a show in Clayton, New York, and it's I think the weekend after Terrificon. It's either the first or second or third weekend after Terrificon, and I kind of was invited to go to that by one of the promoters. So I don't know if anything's gonna come of that. I've gone to it a couple times, and it's the same thing. They've got maybe like 4 long boxes of comics, and everything else is like anime, and nothing
mhm.
wrong with that, but that's not what I'm going to the con for.
Yeah.
So that's basically, you know,
Knowing what's in some of these animes, it makes me nervous if my daughter gets into it because
mhm.
she's still only 12.
Well, I remember somebody handed me a manga book or something like that, and I was trying to read it the regular way, and they're like, "No, you're doing it wrong," and I'm like,
Yeah, you
"No,
got to read it backwards.
because I
Well,
can't
for
go
them
back."
it's normal. For them it's normal, but for us it's backwards. And
Mhm. Like I can't figure this out. No, that will mess with my head. Thank you.
well, I want to thank you very much for showing up tonight, Jason. This has been a lot of fun for me. I like seeing what other people like and learning about their collections very much.
Mhm.
And if you're watching the rewind, Jason can be found on Renegade Rants. That's his channel. I'll see if I can pop it into
Nate
the.
already threw it in the
Oh,
chat.
Nate did. Oh,
Yeah,
great. Thank you, Nate.
Nate's already got us. He's all on that. He's the Blue Wrench.
Okay, well, I'm good. I'm glad to hear that came, Unin. Perhaps I'll have you give me some names if she gets interested in buying them. If you're not doing anything tonight after this, go check out Nate's channel on Hollywood Comics. He's got a show coming up at 8 o'clock. I don't know who his guests are, and maybe Nate can share that too because he's there in the chat and he's a really good guy for that, which I really appreciate. Thank you all very much, everybody who's come tonight. I want to thank all my members again, and I'm going to, that would be AG, Big Nasty, Chonko, Comic Collector Geek, Son of Crom, Cliff on Comics, Ryan Riley, Robbie Josephs, Rad Art and Comics, Ben Compton, Figure Drawing, and Comic Mike. There's all the names. And I have heard from 2 of the members who've wanted videos done. I can honestly say I'm working on one, and the second one will be done soon after that one. So messages have been heard, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. I tell you right now, I'm not going to give away the topic of the first one I've moved on in, but it's going to be a lot of fun. The character's awesome. So it is. All I will say is it's a DC character. So thank you all very much for coming out and joining us tonight, everybody. My name is Matt, and I like comics, and I hope you do too. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.